Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. This webinar is an introduction of Protocols.io to the University of California. My name is Anita Bröllocks, and I'm the head of outreach here at Protocols.io. And just a few quick notes before we get started with this webinar. We are recording this webinar, so just please be aware of this if you're asking any questions at the end. The webinar will be about 15 minutes of presentation, and then we'll have time to answer any questions in the end. And if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to either type them out in the chat window here. You should see a webinar chat here, or there's an option to raise your hand. So in the end, if you are raising your hand, I can unmute you, or you can unmute yourself to ask a question. And so let's get started. The agenda for today is I'm going to tell you a little bit what our mission at Protocols.io is, and then I'm going to walk you through the main functionalities on Protocols.io, which includes how can you explore publications, how can you create your own protocols, how do you share protocols and files with others, with collaborators or students. Then I'm going to show you how to publish protocols, how to do group collaboration and collaboration in general on Protocols.io. And then I'm going to show you our running functionality, and the last functionality, our file manager. And I'm going to show you some quick examples of how Protocols.io can be used for teaching. And then I'm going to show you how you can get started right now with your premium Protocols.io if you're part of the University of California. And then in the end, we have time for questions. So Protocols.io is an open access repository for methods, and our mission really is to make it easy to share method details before, during, and after publication. And how we do this, I'm going to show you right now. So the first functionality I want to show you on Protocols.io is how you can discover publications. So if you're coming to Protocols.io, one thing you can do is you can look for protocols that others, like the community, published already. And you can do so by navigating to this search window up here, which you can see is highlighted with the pink arrow. And you would just type a keyword that would be relevant for the protocol that you're looking for. And if you type the keyword and you hit enter, or you hit the search icon, you will get a whole list of all protocols that match that keyword. And you will see the protocol cards, which have really basic information about the protocol, such as the title, the authors, and you can see if it's associated with any groups. And also you can see different metrics, such as comments, how many people comment on that protocol, how many people viewed that protocol already, and things like that. So you can see different metrics. And then if you decide to click on a card, on a protocol card, this is how a protocol in general looks like. And the special thing to note here is that the protocols on Protocols.io are not static PDFs, but they are rather very interactive and dynamic protocols. So there's a lot of things happening here, and I'm going to walk you through each point now that you can see on here. One thing to note is you have the ability to add very detailed step-by-step descriptions of the protocols. So it's not just one big long text of the method descriptions, but it's very easily split up into single steps that can be followed while somebody's looking at that protocol. Another thing is here on the right-hand side, you see a commenting functionality. And so this commenting functionality is really to discuss this specific protocol. And this can happen either privately or publicly. So this is an example of a public protocol. So this is a public discussion, and anybody can join this discussion. And there's two different levels of discussion happening on the protocol. One is on a protocol level. So that means just in general, people are discussing the protocol. And another one is on a step level. So there can be a discussion on a single step. So if, for example, you use a protocol and you're unsure about step 4, you can add a comment to step 4 and say, hey, I do this differently, or why did you do 30 minutes, not an hour, or whatever it might be. And then the protocol author and everybody who follows this protocol will get a notification once there's a comment added to this protocol. So then everybody can see the comment and the community can try to answer it or try to collaborate on this and figure out what the solution might be. Another thing is that every protocol, of course, can be linked to a publication. So this, for example, you can see it's linked to a Nature publication. So the protocols, not only the publication links to the protocol, but also the protocol links back to the publication. So that's one thing. And then also there's an indication of the status of the protocol. So when you're publishing a protocol, we always ask you, what is the status of this protocol? So is this protocol working? Is this something you're still developing? So you can say this is in development, or maybe even it's something that you tried and it didn't work. So you have different options here. You can set the status. And then another exciting thing is we have something we call versioning on Protocols.io. That means the protocols can always be kept up to date. So if there's any optimizations, any corrections you need to make to a protocol, you can always create a new version. And then that version will always kind of be stacked on top of the older version. And everybody will be guided to the newest version, but you can always still look at the older versions as well. And there's a compare functionality, so you could even compare what changed between version 1 and version 2, or version 2 and version 5, for example. So different kind of versions. But this way, always you can just keep the protocol at like up to date, so it's always the newest version available for everybody. And the protocol can also be exported. So if you would like to export this protocol as a PDF, you can export it either directly to your computer or to Google Drive, Dropbox, or Box. And then there's something called a fork, or copy and a fork. So that is really if you find a protocol that's public and you're using that method, but in a slight modification, so maybe there's like 2 or 3 steps that you do a little bit differently, you create your own copy of that very protocol, and you can create a fork. So that fork is really a copy of the protocol, but you can edit it to modify it as you need it. And then that's your fork of the protocol, your version of that protocol. On Protocols.io, there are about 4,000 public protocols right now. And as mentioned before, it's an open access platform, so all the public content can be viewed by anybody. There's no need to log in to view all the public content. Just if you want to join the discussions, then we require you to have an account. And also one thing to note is there's a large diversity of disciplines. So it is there are molecular biology protocols, but also psychology, computational workflows, clinical trials, and teaching protocols, just to name a few other examples. So really, we welcome all kind of methods to the platform. The next thing is you can create your own protocols, of course. You can do that by navigating to the little plus icon next to your image. I'm not going to go too deep into the editor right now because this would be a whole other webinar, but there's an editor where you can add very like a lot of detail to your protocol, such as like which materials did you use, is there any specific guidelines, and you can add all the single steps, which the steps you can have like different things like timers and amounts. You can even add little videos or images that just describe what was done in that step to each step. And then once you created a protocol and you are ready to share it with others, you can share the protocol, and at this level, it's still private. So once you create a protocol, it always starts out private. So it's only visible for you, and then it's up to you who you want to share it with or if you want to make it public. So if you would like to share the protocol privately with others, you can do so by either getting a shareable private link. So if you get this link, you can get it by clicking on that link icon here on the right top corner. You can share that link with others, and they can view the protocol even if they do not have an account on Protocols.io yet. So this is really good if you're not sure if somebody has an account or not, so you can really just get this link and then people can view the protocol. Just one thing to note here is they will only be able to view it and they cannot make any changes to the protocol. And if you want to share it with somebody who does have an account, you can either share it with individuals by adding their email addresses up here, or you can search for people on Protocols.io as well. Or you can also share it with entire groups. So if, for example, your lab has a Protocols.io group, you can just with one click share it with everybody in your team through that group. And then there's different sharing setting levels. So you can decide, do you want a person to be able to only view a protocol, or should they be able to edit the protocol, or should they be able to edit and publish, or maybe they can be co-admins of a group, of a protocol as well. So it's really up to you what kind of permissions you want to give them. And then next, if you're ready to make your protocol public, you will see two different orange buttons on a protocol. And one is called Get DOI and one is called Publish. And so the main difference between the two of them is that the Get DOI button is really a good option for if you are submitting a paper and you want to include your DOI of your methods in your manuscript, but you're not fully ready to make your protocol discoverable by everybody yet, and you kind of want to keep it still private, but you do want to include it in your publication. In this case, you would click Get DOI, and this will make your protocol fixed because it gets a DOI, and you can no longer make any changes to the protocol. And the DOI will allow all reviewers to see the protocol. So they can see that version of the protocol. And then the protocol will be still undiscoverable. So if somebody comes to Protocols.io and searches for your protocol, they will not be able to find it. So you can keep it kind of private until your publication is out. And then once your paper is public, the protocol goes public too. And then the other option is called Publish. And this option is really if you're ready to make the protocol fully public, you can click this and you get a DOI, and then the protocol will be fully discoverable on Protocols.io. So if somebody tries to search for it, they will be able to find it. So just keep that in mind if you're ready to publish a protocol. And then when you're publishing, there's a little publishing flow. So we ask you to set a title, and then you set authors, the status, as I mentioned before, you say, is it working, is it in development, or maybe not working? And then also you can associate it with groups. So if you have a lab group, you can associate it with that group. And then last step would be to publish it. And then once a protocol is public, it is citable, and you can add it to your manuscript. And other people can also cite it, of course. And every public protocol gets archived in clocks to ensure long-term preservation. And then once it's public, other people can fork it. You can always keep it up to date with versioning. And of course, there's the commenting functionality, so your protocol can be discussed by the community. And then collaboration on Protocols.io. So there is an option to create private or public groups on Protocols.io. And the protocols, as mentioned before, can be discussed to keep it up to date. And groups on Protocols.io make it really easy to share protocols with just a click. And you can also share experiment records and other files in group folders. So in the group folders are really a space for every team member to see that space, and it's a private space, and you can drop any kind of file. So it doesn't have to be just protocols, but you can add any PDFs or Word documents or slides, I don't know, whatever. And you can just drop everything there and share it with your whole team. And in groups, you can also post events and add resources that could be helpful for the team or the community in that group. And you can start discussions. So the discussions don't have to be around a protocol. It can also be about any other topic that you might want to discuss. And then the last functionality is running protocols. So you have the ability to get like a checklist of your protocol that you can follow as you're doing the experiment in the lab. And this can either be on a computer, as you can see here, or we also have free Android and iOS apps. So you can have this functionality on your phone or tablet while you're following the steps. And then once you completed all steps, you can save the experiment and you get an experiment record of it. So it's kind of like an electronic lab notebook record. And then every step that you completed gets a timestamp, and you can add notes and images to each step. So you really know what you did on that specific date. So it's really a record for you to keep. And then the file manager. The file manager is really your space to keep all your work organized. So all your protocols are here. And then also all your experiment records are here. And you can add, as mentioned before, other files. And this is really to keep your group files organized, but also your personal files. And it's just like any other file manager. You can move files around by dragging and dropping them. And here under File Manager, you also have all the functionalities on the protocols themselves, such as like sharing the protocols and publishing and stuff like that. And so now, why should somebody use Protocol.io for teaching? So there are many reasons why this would be good. And one is it makes it very easy to share class material. And so the instructors can share class material with students, which is through the group functionality. And you can share step-by-step instructions. And there is the Q&A, like the commenting functionality on class content directly, so students can ask questions directly on the instructions themselves. And then the class content, it can be either open to everybody, or you can also decide to keep it private and make it only available for students. And students, as they're following the instructions of the experiments, they can easily share results, because they can keep the record and then just share the results with everybody or with the instructor. And it's very applicable for various fields and topics. So not only lab classes, but also computational classes, or if you're doing field trips or whatever it might be, it can be really a lot of different fields. And you can also, of course, post events such as class events, deadlines, etc., and resources for the group. And here are just two examples of what this could look like. So for example, if you have a computational class, you can make all the data sets for students available, as well as the software and the code through the instructional protocols, because Protocol.io, the editor, allows you to also have all these computational components. So it's not only all wet lab stuff. So it's really a lot of different things you can do here. And the students will be able to follow each step of the protocol, of the computational workflow at the time. And if you have a lab class, you can provide the detailed lab protocols. You can include images of how, for example, the setup of the experiment, or videos for explanation. You can add warnings to different steps and stuff like that. And so the students can use, for example, they can use their Protocol.io app while they're running the experiments, which allows them to easily follow the steps and record any observations that they make. And so what are really the key benefits of a university plan for the University of California community? One is, of course, with this campus plan, we are removing a major barrier to reproducible research, the creation and sharing of detailed methods in published articles. So there's no more limits to share all your methods and instructions. And campus researchers can identify precisely the steps of their performed experiments and share them with ease. So really there's unlimited sharing. And the adoption of Protocol.io for internal organizations and for the internal organization and tracking of research method on campus. And a better reporting and more reproducible publication from the University of California research community. So it's really good because the University of California can produce more reproducible papers. And so if you would like to get started, how do you log in? So you can navigate on the landing screen. There's a button that's called sign up. So you would just navigate to the sign up button, and then you can create an account. It just takes a minute. You can either use any email address of your choice, or there's an option to log in with ORCID or Facebook or Google with a Google email. Once you do that, you will get a notification, a verification email, and you need to verify your account. Please note, if you're using a University of California email, you will become a premium user automatically, and you don't need to worry about the steps that I'm going to show in the following slides. So the following slides are only if you're using another email and not your University of California email. So once you logged in, you would go to your profile page, and there's a button called Upgrade. So you would click on Upgrade. And then there's a drop down that lets you select a university. So here you would just select your university, your organization. And once you selected it, you click the buttons called Verify Your Organization Account. This will give you a little window that asks you for your university email. So here you would just put your whatever organization you collected. So here is like a Berkeley email. So you would just put your University of California Berkeley email address, and then you click verify. And then you will receive a verification email to verify your University of California email address. So it will be sent to that email. And once you verified it, then your account will be a free premium account, and you will have a free premium individual account, and all the groups that you're creating with that account will be free premium groups as well. And so what does it really mean to have a premium account? Here are some of your premium benefits. And so for a personal account, that means you can have unlimited private files. So of course, all the public content you can have unlimited anyways, but you can have unlimited private files, and you can have up to 10 private group files. You can have up to 100 gigabyte storage, and there's premium technical support. So if you send us an email at info@protocols.io, or you can also send me an email at anita@protocols.io, we really take it very seriously, and we reply within 24 hours. And we have training available. So if you or your team needs any more training, we can organize like a little demo for your team, or one-on-one demos as well, to show you something more in detail if you're interested in that. And that was it for me, and I'm happy to take any questions now. Please feel free to either unmute yourself or raise your hand or type any questions in a chat window. Thank you, everybody. Okay, if there's no questions, I prepared a question that you should be asking, and a question should be, how will external collaborators be handled? So the question really is, what if you're creating a private group and you're collaborating with somebody who's outside of University of California? And so how this will be handled: if you're creating a private group with your University of California account, you can add other collaborators who are not in the University of California, so you can really collaborate with others without worrying about that they will not be part of this.
Protocols.io. I see a question in the chat, which is,
oh, really?
Will these protocols show up in Google searches? So your private protocols will not. If you make a protocol public, absolutely. Very often when you search for a technique, the top hit or one of the top return results from Google is a protocol on protocols.io. So at this point, it used to be, before we had any content, that maybe 5% of our traffic was coming from Google. At this point, with almost 5,000 public protocols, about 60% of all visitors to protocols.io are coming from Google searches. However, if you're not ready to make it public, and as Anita showed, you click the Get DOI button, it's not visible on protocols.io in searches, it's not visible under your profile, under any public groups, and it will not be indexed by Google until it's fully made public. So it's really an unlisted link. So it depends on you whether you want it to be seen by Google.
Any other questions? So I'm going to stick around for a little bit longer in case somebody does have a question. But if you have any questions later, please feel free to just send me an email at anita@protocols.io, and we're happy to answer any questions that come up afterwards as well. Thank you, everybody.
And I see another question. Do you have a sense of what departments, research areas from University of California are currently the heaviest users? That's a really good question. So we can tell approximately, because a lot of people sign in with Gmail, so then we wouldn't know, or if you're using ORCID ID, we don't really know which UC school you come from. We can see which schools from the UC system are using us the most, but we try to make it really easy for people to sign up. So what that means is we don't require any personal information. It's really optional to share your research interests. We can see the affiliations when people publish protocols, but I don't have a really good answer with numbers for which departments are using us. What I can say is that there is a bias towards biomedical protocols. Just given our history, my own background as a co-founder is in genetics, so wet lab protocols used to dominate protocols.io. 2 years ago, it said on our landing page that this is a repository of life science methods. But since 2017, we've broadened quite a bit. We now are in author guidelines of over 500 different journals. So we're starting to see a lot more psychology protocols, human trials, geosciences, plant biology. So, and some of our most viewed protocols are actually not from the wet lab, they're computational. So we welcome all research methods. But I don't have the answer. I think it's still heavily skewed towards biomedical due to historical reasons, but we do welcome all research methods, whether you're in physics, chemistry, psychology. We would love to see you share your knowledge on protocols.io. And another question, is there a way to print out a copy of a protocol for use at the bench? Absolutely. Anita, do you want to maybe quickly do a screen share and show?
Sure. So I'll share my screen again. Let's see. So if you go to any protocol, can be a private or public protocol, you will see an option here. If you click this little drop-down menu, here it says export. And then the export, you can either, so you can print directly, or if you want, so you can print a PDF, or you can also save a PDF to your computer, Dropbox, Google Drive, or Box. But so if you click here, you will just get a printable version of your protocol, and you can print it. So here you can also, you have different settings, like you can include the comments or exclude the comments, and like decide on different things that you want to print. And then this is your printed version. Any other questions? Oh, I missed the question from Lenny above. Okay, Lenny asked, how easy is it to extract all my records from Protocols.io for backup? So it's very easy to just bulk export all your protocols, and you can, as the same as like the protocol itself, like one protocol, you can back it up to Dropbox, Google Drive, or Box, or you can save it to your computer. So you can do the same thing I showed you right now with the one protocol. You can do it with all of the protocol at once as well in your experiment records.